Hello, and welcome to Sideways. Have you ever had someone dismiss your emotions or, even worse, suggest you're wrong or weak to be feeling them at all? Well, that's what we're talking about this week. There's also a coat that gets mistaken for a leopard, and we wonder whether use of someone else's bin is a violation of their privacy. Man up. Howdy.
Good morning to you. You all right?
Yeah, how are you?
I'm bang on time as well, 9:30.
Well done you.
No.
Bigging yourself up.
I was just, because I was struggling to make sure I was going to be here on time as far as doing my pre-recording ritual is concerned. So I'm all right with it all.
Has it become more involved, your pre-recording ritual?
Not really, no, but there's a certain system I like to go through.
What happens if you're prevented from going through it?
I feel like I'm being psychoanalyzed here.
just wondering.
What happens if I'm prevented? I think I'll be a little bit less confident sitting down in front of the microphone recording this. That's all. Okay.
I felt slightly less confident than I might have done yesterday when I looked out of my window, and the thing that's reminded me of it is the same man is standing there today. He is a neighbour, so it's not like he's just an interloper.
No, okay.
But he was standing across on the corner there, and he had a sort of briefcase thing with him. And he put it on the wall, and he opened it up, and he was too far away for me to see properly what was in it. But it looked as if it was a rifle. And I wondered if he was playing with the sights, and he was going to start sort of putting it together like one of those films, World War II films. I wondered if he was a covert sniper.
Yeah.
And he was going to take me out as I was sitting at my laptop.
Did you keep your head down? Just your eyes?
I went in the garden.
Did you? Yeah, keep out of the way. Just waiting for the.
I thought it'd be safer out there.
Yeah, just waiting to hear the shots ring out. Exactly. But I assume it wasn't a rifle in the end.
I don't think it was. He's out there again today. Doesn't have his briefcase, and he appears to be looking in some sort of notebook. So
okay.
Maybe he is a spy. I don't know.
I suspect he's a surveyor. They have little surveying kits, don't they? So when they're looking at doing repairs to the road or to the verges and stuff, they have all bits of kit, don't they?
Oh, you've got all the answers, haven't you, this morning?
Not really. It's just purely a theory, mate. I'm just trying to put your mind at rest so you don't go running around with it keeping your head low when you're near the windows.
I think he's probably retired. So he's a retired surveyor, and he's just sort of trying to keep his eye in, as it were.
Strange thing to want to do, but yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Man up. That's what my notes are headed today.
I thought you were telling me to do that.
Well, I want to put this in some sort of context because I wanted to discuss with you really as to why I feel, and I'm sure you do too, why the phrase man up, which has been quite consistent in society over many generations, is not only outdated, but it can be extremely damaging.
Yeah.
I mean, it comes up quite often in discussions amongst recovering addicts, and therefore it's a relevant item for us to discuss. But I think it's also relevant for those that aren't in recovery. It's a societal concern, I think, really, when phrases like this are bandied about.
Yeah, it's a dismissal of your genuine emotion, isn't it?
It is.
It's also used towards women, I noticed.
It is.
I suppose the phrase "woman up" doesn't trip off the tongue quite so easily, does it?
Well, it's not defined also in the Oxford English Dictionary, which I'll come on to later.
Oh, okay.
The definition of man up. There isn't a woman up, because I did look for that as well. But before we start, I just wanted to go back to, because last week we talked about this, the rescued baby hedgehog that turned out to be a hat bobble. You remember that?
I still remember it, yeah.
Well, there's rumours that this was a spurious news item spread by the comedian Joe Lycett.
Oh.
Yeah, apparently he's been putting lots of false stories across many different media platforms. And because it came up, and he's neither confirms or denies that this is one of his.
So have we been done? Sounds like we've been taken
scammed.
for fools.
We have. We've been hoodwinked. I don't know, but it was on the BBC News. So you'd like to think that before it became a BBC News item, they'd have done their due diligence. And so I think we've got our reasonable expectation was that it was correct. But what it does, it leads me on to the story which I mentioned last week. I said I've got another similar mistaken identity for animal story. And now I'm wondering, I'm starting to question whether this is right or not.
It's probably Lycett's been behind this one, hasn't he?
Yes, well, he might be behind this one because it's apparently there's a motorist. He pulled over on the A646 near Hebden Bridge in West Yorkshire. So it's very specific because he thought he'd spotted a dead leopard on the verge.
Oh my God!
Oh, right,
Dead
yeah,
leopard.
exactly. Yeah. It turned out to be a discarded woman's coat, like a leopard print coat. And so, but again, when I was reading it, in the knowledge that some of these stories are being put around spuriously, I started to question it and thinking, is it a bit too, the wording seemed a little bit too flippant, but we'll let other people make their mind up about those stories.
That definitely could be a Lycett fueled one because I've definitely seen him in a leopard print coat.
Well,
so he might have put his own coat by the side of a road and
just to snap the picture.
He's a cheeky monkey, isn't he?
He can be quite funny, but yeah, his new line of hoodwinking, I'm not so impressed with it, but especially I've been drawn in.
Yeah, funny enough, I was watching him last night in Travel Man.
Okay.
Have you seen him in Travel Man?
I haven't, no.
It was very good, very funny indeed. Anyway, that's another story, isn't it?
It is another story, but I thought I'd just put that out there as it's just hopefully giving us, writing the record. Whether it's true or not, we don't know.
Yeah.
But it's still quite a nice little story.
Yes.
Quite nice little stories.
Yeah. Lovely. Oh, actually, just before you carry on.
Okay.
Last week you questioned whether I should be using the term celebrant for an Anglican minister.
I'd only heard it in a certain context, so yes.
Yeah, so I checked it out. I thought I'd better check it out. Let's make sure that we apply the appropriate rigour to the discussion topics.
Okay.
And apparently celebrant can be used in a secular or religious context.
Okay.
So basically what my subtext here is, you made me doubt myself and you had no reason to.
Okay, well, I apologise. I hope it didn't cause too much stress and angst.
I've been worrying about it most of the week.
Have you? Such a small throwaway phrase which can cause so much damage, which fits in nicely with what we're talking about today.
Lovely, yeah.
It's a great illustration.
Very good.
So that's. Just before we go on to the subject matter, I did get a text from my ex-wife actually to say that she got the Ian jury question right.
Oh,
so they're all ganging up on you, mate. You know.
Yeah. Did I get the Ian jury? I didn't get the Ian jury question right.
No,
I was 2 years out.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're starting to get people contacting us. When they beat you,
contacting you, to take the piss out of me,
which I thoroughly encourage. So anyone wants to do that, I'm okay with it. But okay, well, we'll go on to the subject matter anyway.
Yeah, let's do that.
And I will go through this definition because, according to the Oxford English Dictionary, to man up, it says, is to demonstrate toughness or courage when faced with a difficult situation. Okay, sort of a caveat to that is that by linking those sort of admirable qualities as they are to with men, it's deemed as sexist. And the phrase can be seen as a view not only damaging to men, but it is sexist in its origin.
Yeah, what you mean, the notion being that if you're showing strength and resilience, you must be a man.
Absolutely right. Which is. I
mean, I'm proof positive that isn't the case.
Well, I think it is I think generally society's moving away from that, aren't they? But we've still got this this hanging over us because it goes along phrases. You probably come across them often in the past. Things like get over it, or grow up, or don't
pull yourself
cry.
Together.
Pull yourself together. Exactly right. I know I always often joke, don't know, about that being used in the therapist's chair.
Yeah, you always ask me if that's a phrase I use frequently.
Yeah, which I know how wrong that would be, and I know it's a joke, but it's been out there for a long time, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it can create a sort of this stereotypical ideal, which a lot of us would fall way short of.
It wouldn't be my ideal, and it always, whenever someone sort of suggests that question about typical masculine traits, it reminds me of a sociology lecturer at college once who posed that very question and asked us, on the blackboard, because it was a blackboard in those days, made a list of what we shouted out as being typically feminine, typically masculine traits. And we finished the list and I put my hand up and she said, "Yes, Graham." And I said, "According to this list, I'm a woman." And she said, I'll never forget it. She said, "Welcome to the human race." And I thought, yeah, what she was really saying there, her subtext was, this is all bullshit.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I think is what you're saying.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. That's twice I've sworn this morning. Sorry.
You have, and I think you should hold your tongue on the Sabbath, but it's up to you how you behave. I don't want to steer it. I don't want to put you in a box. I think, but I've come across it a lot in groups with men that are affected by trauma, and have the sense of a feeling that, you know, to man up in situations in which they feel powerless. And I think it's very sad because, you know, again, in society, I think man, again, if you're going back to what your lecturer was saying there, I don't know what came up on the list because I hadn't heard that story before, but in things like, you know, reliability and being self-sufficient, never weak and never being visibly emotional.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, unemotional and strong and resilient and, you know, tough. You know, it's all the things I'm not really.
Well, I think the only exception to the rule, if you're looking at that stereotyping, is the explosion of anger. That seems to be all right, which is a very strong emotion. We've done one on anger before, haven't we? And it's that seems to be, if you're using that template for a man, being angry is all right, or being, you know, openly aggressive. It seems to be that.
Well, I don't know who it's all right with. I don't feel like it's all right. And actually,
oh no, it's not all right. No.
But I think a lot of people have difficulty with anger in as much as they don't know what to do with it when they feel it. I mean, I think it's good to feel anger. There's nothing wrong with feeling anger. And then it kind of becomes destructive because then you feel bad about the way you deal with your anger. So it's all, I was going to use another swear word there, but I'm not going to. It's all a bit messed up.
It is a bit messed. I know which word you're potentially going to use there. So you avoided that well.
I mean, the reality is your emotions are what they are.
Yeah,
and you
exactly.
what you feel can't ever be wrong.
No.
You know, the behavior that you display as a result of your emotions might not be very wise. But, you know, when people say, as they often do, I know I shouldn't feel this. But, you know, this whole kind of idea that I have this feeling and I ought not have it is ridiculous. You know, it's okay. You can't be wrong, can you, in what you feel?
No, and you can't chide yourself for it either, can you?
That's a word that I don't think has been used in any episode previously.
It hasn't, so I'm glad to introduce it.
So if anyone's playing word bingo, you can cross that one off.
It's good. I was looking, because when you look back, we've said, you know, this is a generational thing, and it is getting a bit easier, but for generations, and certainly, you know, looking at your own father and your grandfather and going back, but going right back to the sort of the beginning of sort of evolution, when man was around chasing sort of woolly mammoths, trying to bring them down, you know, to provide food. But that's not the case anymore, is it? The role has changed.
I've never chased a woolly mammoth.
Have you not? No, they're quicker than you think.
That's why I don't chase them.
Well, you're very wise, but I think when I was back in the madness, I didn't know what I was chasing, mate. It could have been anything. But I think, again, sometimes people can be told, and men in particular, perhaps, that a natural response to stress can be a weakness if you're just succumbing to the stress and expressing that. And I think which is sad, isn't it? Because it's as you say, it's a reality to all humans. Their emotions, and stress is a reality to all humans.
Yeah.
I don't deny that, push it back because the gender stereotyping doesn't allow you to express that. I think it is very sad, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's also what you've learned as well, isn't it? If you grow up in an environment and you see that, vulnerability, let's say, whether you're, you know, whatever gender you are, if you grow up in an environment where vulnerability is poo-pooed, you know, is not given any value, or it is suppressed or chided,
yes,
then that's what you're going to learn. You're going to learn, this is wrong. I shouldn't show this. I shouldn't feel this. You know, it's a weakness, or it's bad, or, you know, whatever. And that's how the cycle continues. You know, it takes someone, as we've said before, at some point to break that cycle and to say, actually, no, this doesn't really work for me. I need to do something different.
You're absolutely right, and I think society and potentially the environment you grow up in, it can be normalised, that sort of behaviour. It certainly wasn't for me. The showing of emotion was strictly forbidden. It was, you never cried. That wasn't how you should behave, and that has stuck with me for a long time. It's rather ironic that it took going into the madness of addiction, then coming out of it, to actually get in touch with that side of myself, which says that it's okay. It's okay to be emotional, and you can explore those emotions, and you'll be the better for it. But when I came across in research, when I was doing this, I came across MGRS, which is masculine gender role stress. Have you ever come across that phrase?
No, never heard of it.
No, and apparently it just reflects the increasingly, or the increasing pressure on modern man. It's really where the stress that comes with wanting to comply with these rigid illustration or definitions of masculinity. And it's associated with a range of sort of physical and psychological problems, such as anxiety, depression, substance abuse, which is, I thought, there it is right there. So it's a sort of condition that's exacerbated by the use of these phrases such as, man up, grow up, and don't cry, sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons why it's so stressful to suppress those emotions, if you're a man, generationally, is that we have moved away as a society now from expecting men just to go out at work, not be involved in the childcare, not show vulnerability. Prospective partners don't want that in a man anymore. They want some vulnerability, some sensitivity. So for men trying to balance what they've been taught are the necessary qualities of masculinity alongside a productive and positive and healthy expression of their emotions, I think for some causes a lot of difficulty. You don't know where the line is. I think that is probably a challenge for many modern men.
So do you think you and I perhaps are sort of stuck betwixt and between where we brought up in a certain way, and as we've grown up, the society has changed its view towards it?
I think probably. I think if I think about you and I, my instinctive response to that would be that your problems with addiction have been a fundamental reason why you have become more vulnerable and open to your emotions.
Yeah.
Because you never were in the past.
No.
Right?
No.
So I think that's changed you. And I think the thing that's changed me is I grew up with a lot of shame around what I saw as not having typically masculine traits.
Okay.
And I think as I've got older, I've just become more comfortable with who I am. That's not who I am. I'm not aggressive. I don't want to fight you. It's those sorts of things that were associated typically with being a masculine man. They're just not really in me. So I think whereas in the middle of my life, I might have worried about it. I don't really care now.
Which comes with age and wisdom anyway as well, doesn't it?
Well, hopefully. I mean, I think there's probably some work that you have to do. I mean, obviously, I've had years of therapy as well. That's probably helped.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, you're, and certainly that's transposed across in the job you're doing now, which just worked out very well for you.
Yeah, but I mean, I had my own collapse in midlife, so not the same. It wasn't the same as yours, but it was. I think sometimes it does take a kind of rupture. For you to recognize what you're suppressing, what you're not facing, what you're not accepting in yourself. I mean, preferably it doesn't take that because it's a bloody nuisance. But, that is one way of doing it.
Yeah, it is. But I think it is this asking for help. And I know it's a bit of a cliche saying that, it's a great stroke of strength when you ask for help. But I think it is very true. And I think also I've found, certainly in the peer support system and running groups over the years, that it's taken it to the next level when you're admitting it in front of a group as well. Yeah, but I think it's an extremely powerful expression when that happens, and you can visibly see people grow from engaging in that and doing it consistently. And
I imagine in peer support, one of the great benefits for people who find it hard to show vulnerability or have shown it have suppressed their emotion over a long period of time, is the relief that they can share it with kind of like-minded people. The realization that this is a safe space and I'm going to be all right. I can tell people how I really feel in here. I know in my own situation, that was such a relief that, to be somewhere where you think, oh, I can fall apart here. It's all right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sort of refreshing when you do see people sort of start to become tearful, because they're starting to recover.
Something's happening. Yeah.
There's movement. And it's and you see it a lot. You see some of the most hardened criminals sometimes with incredibly difficult backgrounds come into groups, and working with them for a little while, they suddenly start to open up and become humble and start to express emotions they've never been in touch with before. So that's lovely to see, to be honest. It's nice to see that growth. But also, just to sort of put a cap on what we've been saying here, I think the biggest problem is when you get the man up thrown at you, or don't cry. It stops people seeking help. It's a real barrier, because it wasn't that long ago, during the 80s, and I know it was probably more on American TV where we hadn't grasped the benefits of going to get therapy. It was almost used in a pejorative sense. They're going to see a shrink. Well, I don't know how you feel about that term, the shrink. Is that do you? Well,
it's not. I mean, I think that's usually associated with a psychiatrist, isn't it?
It is really, but it's been used across the range of if you're seeking therapy, you're going to see a shrink.
Yeah, I think one of the things that has changed very much for the better is there is much less stigma around people going to therapy these days.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying there isn't any, because I know there is. And I know that a lot of people often find that first step into asking for help one of the most difficult. But I definitely think there is much more talk about mental health. It's one of the reasons why I'm sniffy about Mental Health Awareness Week. I mean, we're aware of it. We know people struggle. Yeah. Anybody who says people don't struggle is an idiot. What we actually need is more provision for people to get the help they need if they can't afford my extortionate fees.
Well, absolutely no, and I agree. I think all you guys should just do it for free, for a laugh, just to benefit society. How
would we pay our bills?
Well, if you sort that out elsewhere, mate. It's not my
go busking, perhaps.
Busking.
Get a paper round.
That's what you want. That'll sort you out. But that's really. I've come to the end of my notes on that, really. But I just wanted to say also on the barriers of entry into seeking help. It's becoming quite refreshing that I'm seeing more and more people come from the armed services now into groups and into therapy, because that has always been those phrases of stay strong, man up, and keep your chin up. That has been so ingrained into them over so many years as a job that they're getting paid to do, to break that barrier down. But again, I see that softening, and I see the attitude now with people from the services is seeking help has become less of an issue.
I think two final things then. One, it's worth remembering, just on that point, it's worth remembering that by showing vulnerability and sensitivity, you're not losing all of your strengths. You're not, all of those things that you might have cultivated carefully over the years, your resilience, your strength, your ability to solve problems and tough stuff out. You don't lose that. We're not suggesting, those aren't valuable. Of course they're valuable, but they become less valuable if you use them in isolation. If you don't recognize that sometimes something is going to overwhelm you. Life can overwhelm you. That's just it. It doesn't matter who you are, how strong you think you are. Sometimes life will pull the rug from under you. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, I can't think of any examples now, but I know there are a lot of men's groups that have cropped up over the years, where men can go and, talk about the things that they struggle with in an environment that perhaps feels more comfortable for them than it would, going to therapy. So, it's certainly worth seeking that out too.
I agree. And I normally like to finish with a quote, but I couldn't find any. I couldn't find it. When you Google quotes about manning up, you get a lot of quotes actually condoning it and saying this is.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, because especially if you're going back to some of the philosophers of old.
Oh, right, yeah.
So,
The Stoics.
yeah, exactly. And you come across things that which again generationally have changed.
You see, I don't know much about the Stoics, but I would imagine that, broadly speaking, the advice of the Stoic is accept what you're feeling, acknowledge it, because that's part of the way in which you will be able to push through it and become resilient to it. You know, and the problem with Man Up is it's saying don't listen to your emotions.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is nonsense and very bad advice.
It is.
Yeah,
it is, and that's a bedrock of your work, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it is. What about Man On? Is that still okay?
Man On
when you're playing football.
Man On, I think that's still all right. Whether they shout that in the women's game or not, I don't know.
That's true. Yeah. Oh, I've got a feeling that sometimes when you're playing football, if someone wants to warn you that there is a tackle approaching, they might shout "Man up," mightn't they?
They could do if they're running in behind you, sort of thing. Yeah,
exactly
on your blind side.
You're right. So if you're thinking of shouting that in a game today, we're fine with that. We just don't want it applied to emotions.
And that's a good place to sort of move on, if you like, to the. Now, I think you did mention to me that you may have had something you want to discuss, a new sort of feature which you haven't discussed what it is. So I'm in your hands here. So did you want to mention it here?
Yeah, well, we can do. I was quite surprised that you didn't ask me about it, because I thought if I said, "Oh, I've got a new feature," that you might think, "Oh, I better prepare for that." But you didn't ask me anything about
that was my natural instinct, but I fought against it, and I thought, no, I'm just because you sort of do a lot of this on the hoof, and it'd probably do me good to do the same.
Well, that's exactly why I thought all the things that we do really involve you asking me something.
Yeah.
And so this one's for me to ask you something. But should we do gratitude first?
Yeah, we can do, yeah.
Yeah. Come on then, let's do gratitude first.
We sure. Well, I'm going to go first then. I'm just you use on my gratitude list this week is the bulk standard, British standard, if you like, of fish and chips.
Nice. Now, it's food every week for you, isn't it?
It is rather. I'm very. I'm like a dog, aren't I? I'm very food orientated. But
it's like a Labrador.
Yeah, I am. But it was nice because, in fact, I've had fish and chips twice over this weekend. Not the same. I didn't actually have fish. Well, actually, no. The second time I did have fish, but I have had my youngest daughter was able to bring me some fish and chips in on Friday night, which was lovely.
Lovely. Haddock or cod?
No, I actually had chicken and mushroom pie because we discussed. You know, she's a big listener to this podcast, and so she gave me the menu, and we talked about it in advance.
Oh no!
Yes.
Oh, actually, I think I'd be all right with that. Would I? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Tricky one. Yeah, but I definitely wouldn't have chicken and mushroom pie. Obviously.
Yeah, well, and then I had. Then yesterday, my cousin very kindly invited me around to hers. Yeah, so I went round and she said we're going to have some fish and chips. I did actually have cod bites and chips, which I rather like. Yeah,
cod bites. What, you couldn't bring yourself to have a whole piece? I mean,
no, the bites are nice, aren't they? You know, they're like fillets, aren't they? Fillets in batter. Honestly,
you're like a 5-year-old. Have a proper bit with a bone in it. Get stuck in your throat.
So you could go up A&E.
I had to go up A&E 3 times over the years for trout bones stuck in my throat.
Well, there's a message there, mate, that you're really not getting.
Yeah, don't have trout. I don't think you can get trout at the fish and chip shop.
It's very rare, isn't it? Yeah.
It'd have to be a very posh fish and chip shop.
It would, yeah.
Okay, that's nice. That's nice. Did you have ketchup?
Of course, yeah, and mayonnaise. Salt.
I always have to choose when I've got fish and chips. I always find myself. I want brown sauce on my chips, but red sauce on my fish.
Oh yeah, you don't like those two on the plate?
You can't have the two together, can you? I mean, that's ridiculous.
Well, no, it's down to you, mate. No, don't beat yourself up about it if you want the two. Especially if you're on your own.
I just tell myself to man up.
Man up about it, yeah.
Okay, so what I'm grateful for is the weather being such that I can have the back door open into the garden. Listen to the birds.
Yeah, no, I can understand that.
And yes, last evening I was out there with my binocular.
Where were you?
Okay. I wonder what the neighbours think. But it's nice. Listen to the birds and have a look at look at the birds in the trees. And I saw a goldfinch.
Did you? Very nice.
Yeah, which was nice. So that's been lovely this week. I really like that. Just having the silence in the house, back door's open, nothing but bird song, beautiful.
I think there was a rumour going around. There's a sniper geezer trying to go around getting rid of people with binoculars. So that's
I am very careful not to settle my gaze through my binoculars on anybody's house.
No,
I might get arrested.
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah. Okay, so here's my new feature.
Okay.
My new feature. I'm calling it. I can't remember what I'm calling it now. I'm calling it a moral conundrum. Right.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
So
good.
what I'm going to do each week is I'm going to ask you what your view is on something that troubles me.
Okay.
Right. I don't know how I came up with this, but it just suddenly struck me yesterday. And the first one I'm going to ask you about is, and I want you to think carefully about it.
Oh, well, I won't have time to think carefully.
Well, you can take a moment. I can always edit it out.
Okay, mate.
Right. The question is it ever okay to put your dog's poo in someone else's bin?
I would say no.
Okay.
But I think that's almost I don't know. The bin is still. No, I wouldn't like it if someone did it to my bin. I'm just going to from that angle.
All right, so that's interesting because when I'm walking the dogs, if they have a poo, obviously I pick it up.
Yeah.
And there isn't always a public bin close by.
No.
And I've seen lots of people, they'll walk past a wheelie bin.
Yeah.
And they'll just lift the lid up and throw it in quite casually. And they do it with such sort of confidence. I think, well, most people must think that's completely okay. I mean, it's just a bin, isn't it? Right? But most people don't get into their bins, I imagine, or they're not kind of too worried about what's in it. But I feel like you do that feels like a bit of an imposition.
It's like an invasion of privacy almost. Yeah.
Is it? That's how you'd see it, is it?
I do,
it strongly.
I still feel. I mean, where I live here, there's communal bins, which is that wouldn't worry me particularly. But if it's my own
but if it was your wheelie bin and you saw someone putting their dog poo in it,
I'd hate it. Especially if you open it up to put some more stuff in, and you see someone else has violated your space. I wouldn't like it.
Right. Okay. Good. Well, that's interesting because I didn't know how you would fall on that, but so we see that the same way. It'd be interesting to know if we're in the minority or the majority.
People, I'd imagine that non-dog owners would find it particularly irksome.
Yeah, but you see, I'm a dog owner, and I wouldn't like someone putting their dog's poo in my bin.
No. But I think dog owners would perhaps be a little bit more understanding if you did.
Would they? Yeah, I mean, I am quite judgmental anyway. So
yeah, well, that's an admission. But
okay.
But that's a good conundrum. If you've got a list of those,
I've got a lot of them.
Have you? Well,
Let me tell you, I've got plenty.
Okay, well, that's the sort of thing that comes up when you're doing rehab, those sort of things in groups.
Oh, okay,
yes, that's quite an interesting one.
All right, good.
Should we move on this day in music then?
Yeah.
Because we won't your feature then usurped the one we were working on, which is things that don't work. We can knock that out because otherwise we'll have too many features, won't we?
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Unless you come up with anything on that list that you particularly like, in which case I'm happy for you to take the stage occasionally.
Okay, well, I will just give you this one and we won't discuss it.
Yeah.
Things that don't work, explaining board games.
Oh.
We'll leave that. We won't discuss that here, mate. We'll let other people think about that one.
Well, can I just tell you my immediate instinctive thought about that?
Yes.
I totally agree with that. And I think with board games, and I don't know whether it's because of the way that I explain them or what it is, but two things I hate. One, the constant questions you get as you're complaining, because not everyone's listening. It's really annoying if I have to go over the same thing twice.
Yeah.
And the second thing is, even if you explain all the rules, when you start playing, you get all the same questions. So you might as well just get into it and learn as you go. That's my view.
And I'd put that in my notes. There's no understanding really until the game starts. So
that's twice we've agreed this morning.
It is, yeah, which is, I don't know, it's nice to have a few fireworks really and disagreements. But I think so. That was the feature I was going to drop, but I thought it was quite an interesting one because I know you had quite strong views about that. Yeah,
that's good. I wouldn't have wanted someone to explain Soccerama to me before I played it.
No, you had to learn.
Get into it, haven't you?
You have, but it's funny how if you play the same game with someone else, like Monopoly, for example, people have their own rules.
Oh yeah, that's
especially if it's
crazy.
a complex game.
Yeah.
They have their own set of rules. Anyway, we've gone on that. We said we weren't going to do that feature. Now we have.
Yeah, well, that's all right. It's okay. I mean, people like spending time with us. It's fine.
I'm going to go on this day of music then to see how you do. There's been quite a lot about ABBA on the radio and on the television recently after the anniversary of Waterloo.
Yeah.
They first came to prominence. I think it's the 50th anniversary. And that gives you a little bit of an indication, really, as to where we're going with these questions. But first one, do you know which year ABBA had Knowing Me, Knowing You?
Knowing me, knowing you. Well, I'll tell you the year that immediately came into my head, and I'm probably wrong, is 1978.
You get a point. It's 1977, mate. But yes. It's just, which always amazes me. It's sort of like bang in the middle of the punk era, really, and and they were still getting number ones. It's great.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you why that is. Because they're great songs.
They're great songwriters and great songs.
Yeah, I mean, the melodies in ABBA songs are magnificent.
They are.
So, they're a bit like, I know this is, a lot of people will argue with this, but they're a bit like the Beatles in that respect. Their melodies, the structure of their melodies are magnificent, and it's very difficult not to be caught up in them.
It is, so, and they're quite complex as well, some of them, and they managed to bring that through into the pop world quite nicely. But which leading on to that, so you got yourself a point there. Do you know the year in which Agneta was born? Agneta Fultskog, blonde lady, obviously in ABBA.
Is she the blonde?
She's the blonde lady.
Is she? I can never remember which one's which.
Yeah, so she's the blonde lady. She was born on the 5th of April.
I know she married her stalker.
Yes, I remember you saying we were talking about that, which I wasn't aware of, but which is a strange phenomenon. But
so, did you say it was the 50th anniversary of Waterloo?
Yeah,
right. I reckon 52.
Or 1950.
Oh no!
Just outside, mate. But there we go. It might please you to hear that we've actually got a drummer going into our Dead supergroup this week.
Have we not got a drummer yet?
No, I don't think
excellent. Good.
You keep banging on about John Bonham going.
Is it Cozy Powell?
It is Cozy Powell. He died on the 5th of April. And
what year?
He was only 50.
50, was he?
50, and I'll go on to the circumstances of death. They're quite intriguing, really. But so he's a drummer that will go into a dead super group.
He was 50.
He was 50 when he died.
I reckon he'd be cracking on now. I reckon he might be 80, perhaps, if he was still alive. I'm going to go 94.
98. Yeah. So not too. Do you know what his real name was?
Cozy?
No, Colin.
Colin Powell?
It wasn't Powell. No, his name was Colin Trevor Flukes.
Colin Flukes?
Colin Fluke. But it's FLOOKS rather than it being a bit fluky. Because I think you had
I bet he was called Fluky.
I bet he was growing up, but he changed it to Cozy Powell. But didn't you had a shed called Colin, didn't you, at one time?
Did have in my first house we had a shed called Colin,
So it was apparently, I was looking into his death, I thought, well, that's age 50, there's got to be strange circumstances. And apparently he died following a car crash whilst driving his Saab 9000. At 104, he was driving on the M4 near Bristol. And apparently he was seeing he was having an affair with a married woman at the time.
Yeah.
Who phoned him and said she's having great problems and asked him, could he come over? Now he's 35 miles away. So he jumped in his car, doing 104 miles an hour. And when he was nearly there, he rang again and said, look, I'm really panicking. Where are you? And he was on the phone to her and she heard him say, oh shit, and then heard a loud bang. So it was that distracted him. No, this was back in 98. So the hands-free wasn't really around. It was the early days of mobiles anyway, wasn't it? And then, as it turned out, he was over the legal limit for alcohol. He wasn't wearing a seatbelt. He was talking on the phone whilst driving, and he had a slow puncture, which may have suddenly collapsed and caused loss of control. And he went through the windscreen and was killed instantly. So all those circumstances, it wasn't safe driving, was it? at 104 miles an
that's
hour.
a cheery tale to finish the episode with.
It is, mate, isn't it? But I didn't know Cozy had gone like that. Did you?
He wasn't very cosy, was he, there that day?
No, he wasn't. No, it was a terrible end to a great drummer. And we played with all the great rock bands, didn't he?
Yeah, so don't drink and drive.
Yeah.
Check your tyres.
Make sure you got your seatbelt on.
Get your seatbelt on. Don't drive over the limit.
Don't talk on the phone.
Don't talk on the phone.
Yeah.
Don't be a rock drummer.
Don't be a rock drummer. Yeah.
If you keep to all those, you've got a much better chance of getting from A to B, haven't you?
You have, yeah.
Yeah, good. There we are. That's public service.
It is, yeah.
Broadcast.
It is. Because I was trying to think of what we could have a name for our dead supergroup. Because the first thing I came up with was The Afterlife.
The Afterlife's quite good.
It is, but there's also already a death metal band from Indiana called The Afterlife. So.
How about the Afterlives?
Lives.
The Afterlives.
Well, like a tribute band to the Afterlife.
Yeah, exactly.
Something to think about anyway.
Yeah, when we get some T-shirts printed.
Yeah. Tour dates on the back.
All loads of cemeteries.
Yeah. Okay,
All right.
mate.
Yep.
Good work.
Laters.
Thanks, then. Bye.
Bye. Sideways was created by Graham Landy and Martin Pankhurst. If you want to read more about our work or sort through the extensive archive of past episodes, just visit grahamlandywellbeing.co.uk/sideways-podcast. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram at Sideways Podcast, and you can email us if you have a question or if there's something you'd like us to cover. But most of all, we want to tell you how grateful we are that you come and listen, and we ask that if you've enjoyed what you've heard, that you spread the word. And we'll see you next week.